Blog Talk Radio.
Carol the Coach. Sex, love, and relationships. We talk about it here.
Carol the Coach. Compassion with contemporary relevance.
I am a psychotherapist. I can be your personal life coach, and I can help you with your issues. There are no problems too small or too big. You can talk about anything.
Speaker, columnist, radio TV host, and commentator. Carol the Coach brings messages of wellness and empowerment within reach of everyday people every day.
Almost 5 years ago, I lost my soulmate in an accident. He was killed in a plane crash. Life just, for me, has seemed to stop.
There are groups all over the city. I teach one. It is a specific way to start thinking so that you shift how you see the world, which then shifts your energy, and then you feel better and you actually see things differently.
Carol the Coach. Always available, too, at carolthecoach.com.
Now, I've got Russell on the line.
I'm 47 years old. I'm a truck driver. I am married. I have a wife in San Francisco.
Okay.
I haven't been home in 6 months. My thing is, I don't know if I have a sex addiction or what the problem is. Why do I want what I can't have? And as soon as I can have it, I don't want it anymore.
You're right on target when you say, I don't know if I have a sexual addiction. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. And you know what? That's my specialty, Russell. So you're at the right place. Continue.
I meet women online, and I'm in a different part of the country. I travel all 48 states, so I love sex.
I hear self-esteem issues. You never felt good enough, and you didn't feel like you were getting what you should have then, and you're reenacting that now. Do you want to change that about yourself?
You get what you need.
And that is your question about yourself. Listen to that show, just wanting to give you more and more and more. Well, I can understand that today because I got to tell you, I am Carol the Coach, and I have on two guests that are going to be talking about something that they created with a whole team that is really very innovative, and they just seem to have handled it and created it from all perspectives. And when I say perspectives, what I mean by that is when you go into this facility, you not only work on your own individual addiction and find the support you need to really be the best person that you can be, but there's programming for the partner, not that she stays there, but there's programming for the partner so that she begins to work on those important things that will make her a healthier individual. And I got to tell you, I am so honored because they use ERCEM, the Early Recovery Couples Empathy Model that I developed to help couples heal. And, you know, they're smart enough to know that each man that comes into this home requires different intervention based on his needs. I mean, not every man is married, and even if they are, we know that we also have to pay as partners. So I wanted them to come on the show and explain this incredible treatment center. I know they call it a house, but it really is a treatment center. They put so much time and energy into it, and I don't know of any other sober living house that works like this in the country. And so, Andrew and Lisa, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that we're going to be talking about what you're doing. So, who wants to start? Who wants to talk a little bit about Sober Living House?
Oh, I can go ahead and start.
Thank you. You know what? When I have two people here, I want to make sure that I just really identify who has certain things that they want to describe most. So, Andy, it's all yours. Tell us a little bit about the house.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. We are about 2.5 years ago, Lisa came, I guess about 3 years ago, Lisa came to me and said, hey, there need to be more sober living homes for men battling sex addiction. There's one up in Montana, which is where I went to, and it was really transformative for me. It really helped me get out of my unhealthy addictive behaviors and move into recovery. And I looked at Lisa and I was like, you're crazy. Mm-hmm. And I would say over the next 6 months, God changed my heart, opened a bunch of doors, quite literally, we had to find the residents. We had to find someone to be the house manager for us. And we started Room to Heal. And it is a recovery residence for men battling sex addiction. We really, it's comprehensive, it's pragmatic. We've got accountability measures in place through online accountability software. We do GPS tracking. There's a curfew where guys have to turn in their devices every night. And we really start guys out with a digital detox. No Twitter, no Instagram, no TikTok. As we know, for most guys that battle this, scrolling's the gateway drug. So we really try to give their brains the space to begin to heal. And then there's a ton of accountability at the house. We do process groups. I do recovery coaching with the guys. And the guys are required to go to the 12-step meetings, SAA or SA. And there's a robust ecosystem in Charlotte of 12-step groups for men battling sex addiction. And so really, we're trying to cover this from all aspects. And one of the things that we discovered that we didn't expect as much is over the first, year and a half, 2 years, we learned that there's a huge need to help the partners. We would have, our addicts make a ton of progress, get a lot, just really move into recovery, build a strong foundation, but then we would see their partners continue to struggle. And so we really realized we've got to figure out a way to help the partners while their addicts are really making progress. And so we started researching what's out there. And Carol, we came across your work and just we're so excited by it. And we're so excited to meet you and do your training and really begin to implement ERCEM into our recovery programming to help the whole family system, because we want the addict to go back into a relationship when he moves back home that is different than what he left, right? And so we're really excited about that aspect of our program that we've implemented, and it's been an amazing journey so far. Of course, with its challenges and learning experiences, and we're always refining it and improving it, and but we were just ecstatic that the Lord's called us into this. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I tell you what, I want to hear from Lisa, because obviously she was the brainchild, and she
absolutely
she had the idea, and yet, Andy, you are somebody who has really put the programming together with her based on what your experience was, what you did and didn't get. So I want to give you both kudos for having created this. Now, what's the timeline for men that want to do Room to Heal?
Yeah.
What is that timeline? Yeah. How long would a man stay?
We recommend that men stay 2 to 3 months, although the minimum is just a month in case they just, we like for couples to be able to use our program the way that they need it. So if, say, they've just come out of disclosure and they just really need some space for 4 weeks, they can work with us that way too.
Well, and again, that's innovative, because so oftentimes a partner's brain is so traumatized, it would be a real gift from God to be able to have that space to begin to heal and reflect and not be pressured by the rigors of life or the relationship. So your program also helps men and women that really need that separation. Of course, this is specifically for men, but by being so didactic, you're really helping the partners too. And how did you get so partner sensitive? This is almost unheard of.
How did we get so partner sensitive?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, the idea for Room to Heal, because it was born out of my brain, was because I was in group with a lot of women that just really wanted the space, and there were no options for them. They couldn't afford inpatient or an intensive, and so they were just out of options, and I could see that their healing was stagnated. So, and I wanted to help them get where I was going with a clear mind and able to focus on my own healing. It was really such a blessing that I realized, it was hard to find blessings in those moments where life was so hard, but I realized that was one that was gifted to me. And we're just so excited about building it out further because, you have to start somewhere, right? When you're starting a business. And now I'm just so excited to layer on other things, bring on other partner betrayal trauma coaches who are trained in ERCEM and in APSAT, and they'll be doing weekly support groups with the other women. Something that's always worked well for us is we get the women together, give them that community, somebody to call or talk to. So we're going to formalize that. And I'm so excited. Pam Blizzard is running that for us. She's amazing. She does a lot of groups on her own, but she's coming in to do one specifically with our partners. And then each partner will receive their own recovery coach. So they will have a person to go to that understands and can talk to them on a weekly basis about, how they're managing their days and what they can do to make it easier. And then also, go ahead.
Pam Blizzard is amazing. She's ERCEM trained and she's APSATS trained, which for anybody who's listening and is new to this kind of situation, APSATS is a premier educational, partner trauma-sensitive, informed organization that's created a whole curriculum to help partners heal. And ERCEM, she's also ERCEM trained, and ERCEM is obviously exposing the couple to that empathy factor, those relational skills, while they're still in that crisis management of their relationship. Pam, she's got an amazing podcast with 2 other women. So search her out, search her name out. But I wanted to ask you, when you say each partner of each addict has a recovery coach, do they come to the facility or do they do that on telehealth?
Well, we have several that are in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if they are local, they can meet with them locally and in a different, we have a separate office for those meetings. And then if they're living outside of Charlotte, then they're welcome to do everything virtually.
Wow. Okay, and we aren't allowed to talk price on Blog Talk. It's against the rules. But what I know is a young program like yours that is so well maintained, that is so well faceted. I'm looking at this price, which I can't say, sorry about that, listening audience, and it is so inexpensive considering the tens of thousands of dollars that many men pay to get treatment. So I want to flip back, if I can, to the sex addicts treatment. And, you said, what do you call them? Clients? Do you call them residents? Do you call them?
We call them residents.
Okay, so a resident will receive weekly recovery coaching. And is that all from you? Are you a one-stop shop for doing that recovery coaching right now, Andy?
Yeah, right now I do recovery coaching with all our residents, and then we are actually bringing on some additional coaches that will be taking on some of that work as well as we continue to grow. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide coaching to the residents once they leave as well. And we found that that's a really important piece, is continuing, the accountability and work that they've started, at Room to Heal once they move out.
And so then they get study materials, so they have something to do within their day and also to take home. And I imagine you've eclectically collected what you think is most helpful to retrain the brain. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, we've got a really strong programming. So, we do group therapy at home, process groups at the house twice a week. And then, each of the guys has their own recovery plan that we put together based on their story, based on, how, this addictions manifest in their lives, their own unique pathology. But I would say what we do for every guy's required to do, meditation each day to really work on the rewiring of the brain, get out of these, dopamine junkie phase that we're in. Every guy does a digital detox. Every guy has the accountability software. So we're really covering the pragmatic end. And we find that once we do that, living with a community of guys that battle the same things that you do is really like living a bunch of mirrors that reflect your own pathology back onto yourself. So, I can't tell you how many times I chat with guys and they're frustrated with another resident, and ultimately we dig down and discover it's because it's reminding them of their own struggles, their own triggers, their own issues, right? And they can see it in a way that they've never really been able to see it before because they're actually seeing it in someone else. So it's hard to leave the denial alone, when you're actually seeing something that reminds you of your own mess. And then, there's guys are going to SAA meetings with each other. So it's not nearly as daunting for maybe someone early in recovery because they're going with guys that they already have relationships with. So it's a really neat dynamic. And, guys eat together. We provide all food at the house. And, guys do check-in every night with each other. And guys have to turn in their devices. As we know, a lot of guys struggle late at night. So 9:45 every night, guys are turning in their devices.
And so in some ways, another thing that really differentiates you from other residential treatment centers is that they do have their devices with them for periods of the day. Mm-hmm. And you're teaching them how to monitor and manage that too, I would suspect.
Right. Yeah, part of what really helped me in my journey is actually working my recovery out in real time. So, of course, guys have slips when they're with us. But what we found is they learn to check in those slips in real time. We've got a 24-hour rule. Guys have to check in any slips in real time. And what we find is we're able to really dig into the root cause and, be it a particular emotion that's triggering or a situation or a location. And guys start to check those things in before they lead to slips. Right? So we really create this environment of accountability, vulnerability, and really, owning accessibility for each other and each other's lives. So guys are able to work out their recovery in real time. Mm-hmm. We figure out what are the tools that work best for you. What are your most dangerous triggers? What are the emotions that maybe we really need to do some work on, managing well? And it's just a really neat dynamic. We start, so many guys that come stay with me are just entrenched in shame. And so to shift, I'm like, hey, if you check in a slip in 24 hours, and that's different than what you've done most of your life, that's a win because we can now work with that, unearth it, get to the root causes of what caused it, and that's where some of the really exciting work happens when guys start to shift their behavioral patterns and habits, and it's as you can tell, I'm passionate about this. So it's been really effective.
I can, and I've got to say, what we know about group in general, and I've run over 2,000 groups in my lifetime, is that when a man or a woman does work in a group, it transfers out there. And another very unique quality to your programming and to your sober living house is that you, in some ways, you and the guys are mirroring how a partner would need to handle a situation. There's nothing worse. Well, there is. It's bad when there's a slip or a relapse. But what's worse than that is if the addict doesn't feel comfortable coming and telling him or her, usually a her, about that. And, doing it in that 12 or 24-hour period. Because more than anything, Lisa, you know this, partners want honesty. They want to know about their husband's struggles and slips and insecurities. And so will you talk a little bit about how you help partners manage that fear when the addict comes to them, when the resident comes to them and says, I had a slip, or boy, I was in fantasy today, or, I made some bad decisions. How do you help a partner with that while they're in sober living?
It's a challenge. I'll say it's something that we just take very seriously, and we make sure that we get in touch with them and help them understand too. What do they want to know? What do they not want to know? so they can protect their environment at home and make sure that it's good. But, you know, we make sure that we connect them and are usually on the call to prepare them. And then I think that getting that individual and group to unpack that with other women after that's happened is so important. So you're not just hearing that information and just taking it in and not having an outlet for it.
Okay. And I want to understand this because I know my listening audience is hearing about this and they have to be excited. They don't have to live in your state for their husband to come to sober living, right?
Correct.
And when you talk about accountability devices, which, you know, is one of my 10 steps to recovery, having good accountability devices, they're for them, A, so that it gives them some pause. We all know an addict can get around anything if they want to, but if they've got things in place to assist them in making better decisions, they do better. And so you mentioned the GPS, and I don't know if you mentioned Covenant Eyes, but I do believe you use that too. Or do the men use it?
We use Covenant Eyes. And then we also, we also really lock down the devices. So, through my own recovery journey, I learned the various ways you can get around certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten very adept at locking those loopholes down. And really, the thing we don't want to get into is recovery whack-a-mole, right? Where, this popped up, now I got to lock this down. But it's really just creating those some strong initial barriers to, because a lot of guys, when they come stay with us, there's very little pause between the impulse and the action, right? So the more that we can help guys get that, access that initial pause where they can take ownership of their recovery, the more it helps them. So we do as best we can lock down, guys' devices. I mean, guys can't download apps. It's anything they need for work, they have to go through me or the house manager. We manually do it and then take off, the ability to download apps again. So we really do a pretty good job of locking things down. Now, of course, there's nothing perfect. Of course, if guys really, really want to, they can find a way. And if that happens, they need to own it, because really this is about owning your recovery. We help you put the things in place, but you got to implement them, and you got to buy in. And it's just a really safe environment to learn how to do that. A lot of guys didn't grow up with, as part of my story, a lot of guys didn't grow up with safe places to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that growing up, so they learned to protect themselves. And a big part of the guy's journey with us is to realize, oh no, these are safe guys that I can unpack what's really going on inside.
Mm-hmm. And again, I can't stress how important I think it is from an ERCEM standpoint to work with the partner to be safe and stable while the addict is working his own recovery goals. And so Sober House Living does that, room to heal, sets that up for him, and then helps him to understand partner betrayal, and then helps the partner, assist the partners to deal with what they can expect, could expect, should expect while he's in treatment and when he comes home. And so that safety and stabilization, which is that first phase of ERCEM, really gets, it's like being on steroids. They're getting that with a team right off the bat, which is so lovely because mostly couples struggle with this on their own. At best, he may go to a meeting and she may hear a podcast and do some reading, but this is a comprehensive way to help them as a coupleship navigate this crisis. I love that. And then you say that you do offer some relational meetings, coaching, if you will, while they're there? Is that what I understand? Tell me about that.
Yeah, we do. I'm very excited about these. We want their interactions to be more quality over quantity while they stay with us. And so the two coaches will work together to map out a plan and say, okay, this week we're going to touch base on this. these are her concerns this week that she wants to bring up with him, and then have that safe space for them to catch up and talk to each other, but also have objectives for, furthering the connection while they're apart, because that's so important. She needs to hear that he's invested in this and he wants this and he misses her and that he's all in. He wants, to get home and get healthy.
Well, and, we all know that couples come in all sorts of packages with all sorts of strengths and weaknesses or deficits. And, not every man you work with is going to be assured that they want to stay in the marriage. That just is the way it is. But you, like me, who treated thousands of couples, believe that the majority of men do. They've had this addiction that has stolen their presence and their brain, and once that fog clears through being at this Rooms to Heal program, I keep saying rooms, but it's Room to Heal, correct?
Right.
And it's room2heal.org if they want to find out more information, right?
It's room2heal.org.
Got it. And so once they get there and that fog begins to clear because they're not white-knuckling their addiction and they've got the support they need, my experience is they go, what the heck did I do? How could I have not known this would traumatize my wife? How can I repair? And how can I get healthier myself? And this program addresses that awakening, if you will, to both individual recovery and relational recovery. And so I love the fact that you offer recovery coaching. Do you have somebody designated that does that too? Is that also Pam Blizzard?
We have 3 different ladies that we have on board to do that. And so when couples come to us, they can chat with a couple of them and see who's the right fit for them.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew, do you ever take charge of that? Do you ever meet with the couple?
I've done that a few times.
Uh-huh.
And what we've decided in our programming is, we really want, I'll let Lisa speak to that because I think this is where she's really passionate. And,
I just think that early on it's very helpful for them both to have an advocate because they know that their husband gets so much time with Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And so they having their own support system is just important to advocate for them and make sure that they are able to clearly say what they need.
And so that support system that works with them in their own betrayal trauma programming becomes the support system for the relational coaching, the relationship coaching.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm learning as we go along too. These 2 just completed my ERCEM training, and if you go to their website, it is so partner sensitive and addict sensitive based. I mean, unfortunately, and we didn't know what we didn't know when we started, but addict programming, sober living, residential treatment used to be all about the addict. And then they did their best to incorporate a little partner training, but they did it poorly. In the old days, disclosure within that 4-week period, but the partner wasn't prepared, and the partner didn't have a support person, and the partner heard all this stuff and then had to go home, and sometimes being away from her husband and have to deal with it. And unfortunately, we did a lot of what we call treatment-induced trauma in wanting to help. And so I love the fact, although, Andrew, I'm sure you wouldn't ask for this, but I love the fact that you've been through this, you've prospered by it, you had your own struggles, you know what it took to get you to post-traumatic growth, which, by the way, these 2 are in phase 3 of ERCEM. They are clearly in post-traumatic growth. I don't even care if they have a bad day. I don't even care if they challenge their relationship from time to time. That's part of the process, too. It is not linear. You don't go from A to Z and then you're done. But you two have found post-traumatic growth, and I love the fact that you've let your own experience help you to know what would make a better program. And guys, I got to tell you, I think this is the best one out there. And I've seen a lot of programming. Yeah, I have seen a lot of programming. But because you have a 3-phase model yourself, right, the addicts program, the partners program, and the relational program, I can't tell you how comprehensive I think this is. Now, we're going to have to begin to wrap up. What else would both of you like to say about the program? We already told you that it's www.room, and then heal.org.
Right.
And then what would you tell people that are interested in looking at this program on the website? Where do they go? What do they do? How do they contact you?
Well, I would say on the website, there's a contact us tab. We have we have the phone number for the business, and it'll come straight to us. And really just, if you have any questions or want to see if it's a good fit, reach out to us and we'll schedule a free consultation. Really, we want people to get the help that they need. So, for a lot of people, they might not need to do something like what we offer. Some people might need a higher level of care. They might need to go to inpatient treatment. Mm-hmm. I've been to inpatient treatment, so I've covered all the bases with the options out there in terms of this recovery. I mean, I went to my first SAA meeting over 17 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it took me a lot of failures. It took me, a decade plus, 14 plus years to start to really get recovery. My addiction got worse, it didn't get better. So we've been down this journey. I've been down this journey a long time, and we've seen what works, we've seen what doesn't work, and really we just want to help. So if we're not the best fit, we'll help you find the fit that makes the most sense for you. And please reach out to us if you have any questions or want to learn more about what we do or questioning whether or not it's a fit for you. We're objective. We're not going to try to sell you on anything or push our program.
Because your program, is it 8 or 10 men that can be a part of it?
So really, it's really intimate. It's 6 guys, maximum 6 at the house.
Okay.
So it's 6 guys, and then our house leader is 7.
Okay.
So.
And then I suppose that they all graduate at different times. I mean, so the other beauty of any group, I run a group too, and, I do 15 weeks because when somebody graduates, somebody new can come in and they're helping each other get better because they're in different stages of their own growth. And that's the same with your programming, right?
Yeah, it's really neat. Guys further along are helping guys newer in the recovery journey. It's really just a healthy symbiosis at the house, and guys really are invested in each other's recovery. And when guys get to that place, that they're making a lot of progress in the recovery journey. And it's really neat to see help guys come alongside each other, and kind of iron sharpening iron, right? Mm-hmm. Encouraging each other. It's really neat. It's really exciting.
Well, I know that you have those bi-monthly fellowship activities. Can you give our listeners an idea of what one of those might be?
We're huge fans of getting out in nature. So there's some great hiking spots near here. So the guys go for a hike together. Guys will go to the National Whitewater Center, which is near here. Even have guys go bowling. Mm-hmm. It's just we keep it fun. I think the guys a couple weeks ago did a what do they call it? An escape room. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the guys was a little claustrophobic, but he got through it, with the help of his recovery brothers. So it was, it's fun.
And is there follow-up with the guys? So many treatment centers, residential treatment centers, they have alumni calls, or they can come back to the center all as a group a year later. Is there any of that kind of programming?
Yeah, so the guys stay in touch with each other. I stay in touch with the guys. I would say we follow up with each other once a month. Mm-hmm. We don't have an alumni group yet, and guys just stay in touch with each other. I would say we have had so many guys say to us, I feel like for the first time in my life I found real friends. because they're fully known and loved and accepted, and it's from that place that they really start growing. And we've got group text messages and that kind of thing. So that's kind of our next step. It's one of the things on the docket is to start an alumni group.
Yeah. Well, and you're young in the process, and so the beautiful thing is, it's that saying I said during ERCEM: when you know better, you do better, and that's the beauty of being on the bottom foundation of sex addiction and partner betrayal, is that you get to create the magic, you get to make it, and oftentimes we get a lot of recommendations from our peeps, the men in the program, the women in the program, and you go, why didn't I think of that? And then you implement it. So you're very new in this, and it's been how many years in the making?
We've been doing this 2.5 years, and I would say, Lisa, how many years in the making?
I think we had a year of planning before we jumped in.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's still pretty fresh, and I'm just excited to build on it. And Carol, you're so right. We learn from every couple that comes, as part of our program, and we even hired one of our guys that graduated last summer. He was so great, and he helped us, keep perspective on exactly what the guys need, and he's so helpful.
Oh, that pays it forward, doesn't it? In all respects. Lisa, is there anything you can think of that you'd like to offer to our listeners who are partners and addicts, and couples and singles? Because you don't have to have a partner to be in this program. You can just work on you, right?
Yeah, I would say the two groups that have tended to gravitate towards us are, maybe younger men, professionals that really just for whatever reason are really struggling to get sober and move into recovery, and really are trying to take it seriously, but maybe need an additional level of support, and impatience too expensive. So we've had a lot of success with guys that have been doing that have wanted that, that just for whatever reason they're struggling to get sobriety. Maybe that addict starts chatting them up, and maybe they download apps that they know weren't healthy, or so that's been a group that's been really exciting to help. And then obviously, married men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just want to say we've helped couples that have been married 20 and 30 years, just tremendously painful stories, and they are now in post-traumatic growth and living completely different lives, in a lot of ways better than they ever were before this addiction came to light. And I want to encourage people out there, don't stay stuck. Like, there is help. Carol's created such a wonderful program, and she has specialists out there. If we're not the right fit for you, that's okay, but I just don't want to see couples stuck. That's my thing. Mm-hmm. Keep moving forward. You can do it. There's life beyond this, and you can get there.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do want to tell our listening audience, this Sober Living House is very clear. They don't provide, and yet what I know in training hundreds of coaches all over the world, and I'm a coach, so I also understand this, is that the real growth comes from the fellowship, the meetings, the structure, and the coaching. And they do offer a very specialized coaching. And so if you need treatment, they will send you on. And if you need enhanced treatment once you get out of the program, they'll know the trauma specialist, they'll know the therapists in your area that have been identified because they've been trained. So you'll get the resources and referrals you need if you need more than what this program has to offer. But guys, great job, amazing, and I'm just very blessed to be a part of it, and you can even see some of my worksheets on their website. I'll go through those phases of what ERCEM's all about, so you can decide, is that a true fit for you? I happen to think it's one of the best in the world for right now. I also know people will build on that. What an honor, what a blessing when they learn from us and something gets better, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much for today. Again, it's www.room2heal.org. Tom.
Right.
Org. Yeah. Org. And you can check in for a consultation with them after you take a look at the program. It's a beautiful website. So best of luck to you. Keep working it, because we all know when you work it works, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.
You know, I'm always available for consultation. Bye. Understandably, these two, and they're just an amazing couple. They're an adorable couple. They've lived this trauma. They've lived this stress. Obviously, Andrew went through a variety of programming to get where he is today, and you too can get through post-traumatic growth. If you want to know more about ERCEM, you can talk to them. If you want to know more about ERCEM, you can read Help Them Heal, teaching you both how to heal your relationship after sexual betrayal. I just finished the course and got it on a new platform. If you want that course, you can go to my website, Sex Help with Carol the Coach. It just morphs right into Help Them Heal, and then you go to the products page and take a look at all the cool courses we've got to make it easy for you. And Help Them Heal is one of them. There are 21 modules. There are 40 assignment sheets. It's something you two can do together. And once you buy the program, you have it forever. So I'm so happy that we are working away to make your life better. And as I say at the end of every show, don't only be one of you at all times. Fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. And check out Room to Heal, the sober living home that can help get you to the place where you really need to be and be your authentic self. Make it a great week, and we'll see you soon.